Okay, so we're going to have a look at another advanced mechanics question. This is quite a simple one. We are told to graph speed versus time for an object which is launched directly upwards. Now we want to do this for horizontal and for vertical. So we're going to have two different graphs here. So we'll draw one graph here, draw another graph here. So this will be speed versus time. So I suppose we'll put the speed on this axis, we'll put the time on this axis. Now, if this object is thrown directly upwards, it will only have speed in one direction. It will only have vertical speed. In fact, its horizontal speed, we'll do its horizontal speed down here, is just going to be 0. Right? So we're just coloring in the axis here. It has no horizontal speed. It's not moving from side to side. Its vertical speed is going to be a little bit more complicated. So we're going to get rid of this horizontal speed graph because we know this is just 0. Its vertical speed will start positive. So it will start up here with some positive value. Let's call this alpha 0. It will continue to go upwards. It will eventually stop, and then it will turn around. When it stops at some certain time, its velocity will get to 0, right? So it'll reach its height, it will stop, then its velocity will become negative, right? But we have been asked to graph speed, not velocity. So remember, speed is the absolute value of velocity. Now let's think about our acceleration and velocity equations for a moment. In y, in the vertical axis, which is the only one we care about, acceleration in y is minus 9.8. Velocity in y is minus 9.8 times time plus whatever the initial velocity was. This is a straight line as a function of time. So that means it will start with some positive speed, it will straight line down to 0, and then when it turns around, it will have velocity that's negative, but that's speed that's positive. It will start picking up speed again. And it will go up this way until it gets to a certain point later in the graph when it hits the ground, and then it will just carry on up this way, and then eventually just flatline back down as it gets to 0. So you will have a picture that looks something like this. Remember, the question did say speed versus time, not velocity versus time, so it does have to be all above the t-axis. If it was velocity, this line would go down here because it would become negative, but in this case we were asked for speed.